And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Guys, over the last 24 hours, we've seen a lot come out with regard to Robert Jenrick and his comments that he made about Birmingham. And I wanted to make this stream and discuss the clear double standard at play, depending on what race you are and what side of the political spectrum you stand on. Now, people are urging Robert Jenrick to apologise for his comments and what he said with regard to there not being any white people in Birmingham. However, again, there is a clear double standard at play. Now, I also want to discuss this sick interview that we've actually seen come out on X, and it's gone viral, actually, courtesy of LBC, which I was surprised about, with regard to one of these Hamas supporters at a protest yesterday. Of course, yesterday was October the 7th, and the Jews were, of course, commemorating, they were remembering the individuals that lost their lives on October the 7th. However, this disgraceful, quite frankly, disgraceful interview emerged, and the irony in this interview is there for all to see. We're going to discuss this and all the other parts with regard to Robert Jenrick, Hamza Yusuf, and whatnot in today's live stream. But first, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Let's have a watch of this footage. So, here we go. So this is the interview here, by the way. So listen to this quickly.
I think freedom will be achieved when the Israelis go back.
Oop, sorry, my headphones aren't connected by the looks of things. Apologies. It's going to come through my mic. For God's sake. There we go. 2 seconds. Connect. There we go. Apologies.
I think freedom will be achieved when the Israelis go back to where they were born, which is probably America, Poland.
So,
whatever.
you mean leaving the state of Israel? Is that what you mean? You don't believe in the state of Israel?
No, I don't.
You don't understand why Jewish students might feel uncomfortable by that on campus today?
No. I don't. I mean, I understand why they might feel like that, but I don't think that their feelings are valid.
And there you go. There's the problem. Imagine if that was said about anybody else. There'd be utter hell to pay. Are these protests on this day, the second anniversary of one of the worst terrorist atrocities this century committed against Israelis, committed against Jews, by an organisation that has said it wants to carry out the same attack day after day? Are these protests, to use the PM's words, un-British because they show, and again I'm quoting, so little respect for others, and that's before some of them decide to start chanting hatred towards Jewish people all over again, end quote. Well, I think there you have an example of it, I'm afraid.
Firstly, I'm surprised that LBC are actually covering this, first and foremost. But it's absolutely correct. I mean, the irony of this lady to say that they need to go back to where they're from, or go back to the country that they're from, is absolutely ludicrous to me, because she's clearly standing in the United Kingdom and she's not from the United Kingdom. So the irony that's there, a foreigner saying that within the United Kingdom, is super ironic. But my goodness me, the true evil pursuit where she's talking about this, she has zero compassion, almost truly evil. Look at the look in her eyes as she's just discussing this. She doesn't condemn what Hamas have done whatsoever with regard to the October 7th. And this is absolutely sickening on what she is saying. And then as you can see here with Patrick Christie said, but of course the big issue is Robert Jenrick saying he didn't see any white faces in Birmingham. We're going to get to that in a moment actually as well. But I just wanted to see some more reaction from this interview, because my goodness me, it's crazy. As you can see here, I've been absolutely disgusted in the news, views from Hamas supporters today, but this interview was most chilling by far. I can't stop thinking about it. It's the emotionless, psychopathic look on her face, truly evil and deport. But I like this bit here. It shares the same point as me, that everybody's saying as well, is that the irony of some random foreigner in Britain talking about Israelis need to go back to where they're born, Palestinians being colonized by native Israelis bad, native Brits being colonized by the rest of the world equals good. They're such hypocrites. Exactly. She absolutely is a hypocrite. Now, Hamza Yusuf as well today, yesterday I think as well, on the anniversary, Let the mask slip, as this individual has said here. He said, just listen to the way he speaks about the UK, Israel and Palestine, and we'll get to it. He's got another bit in the next segment with regard to Robert Jenrick, but have a listen to what he says with regard to Israel in this video.
The UK government continues to sell arms to the government of Israel, so this doesn't, I'm afraid, whitewash what the UK government is doing in Gaza. And look, let me just remind you of your history, of course. Israel was founded on the back of a campaign of terror. British officials died in that campaign of terror. For example, the bombing of the King George Hotel. The UK government continues to sell arms.
Your history. He says your history. The British had a campaign of terror. Hamza Yusuf is an anti-British, anti-white, whitewashed. He had to slip white into a sentence. Obsession overload. Exactly. And we know what Hamza Yusuf is all about, but the fact that he's saying you're. So he doesn't identify himself as British, despite all his sort of rhetoric that he posts all of the time is all about you're. Now, as stated, Robert Jenrick is now being sort of forced or urged to apologise for his disgraceful integration comments. However, Hamza Yusuf says the exact same thing, but the other way around, but doesn't get condemned about it. For those of you wondering what Robert Jenrick said, this is what he said with regard to Birmingham.
In Birmingham the other day to do a video on litter. And it was absolutely appalling. It's as close as I've come to a slum in this country. But the other thing that I noticed there was that it was one of the worst integrated places that I've ever been to. In fact, in the hour and a half that I was filming with news there, I didn't see another white face. And that's not the kind of country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where people are properly integrated. It's not about the colour of your skin or your faith. Of course it isn't. But I want people to be living alongside each other, not parallel lives. That's not the right way we want to live as a country.
So what's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with what he said there with regard to Birmingham. He's saying it from his own experience. But however you're saying here, now in the fallout to this, Robert Jenrick is being accused of racism for claiming Birmingham has no white faces, risking racial hate crime charges. Now, this is what Hamza Yusuf said with regard to people in Scotland, despite it being Scotland, by the way, as we always say, obsession with white. But as this user said here, another two-tier system in play. So it only matters what side of the political spectrum you're on and whether you get heat or not. But remember, this is what Hamza Yusuf said.
Most senior positions in Scotland are filled almost exclusively by those who are white. Take my portfolio alone. The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white.
I hate this guy. He is the most, one of those sort of characters that you just can't seem to like whatsoever. But again, a clear double standard at play here now, trying to sort of cancel Robert Jenrick for speaking the truth in his own country. And then, of course, you have Hamza, who, bearing in mind, is in Scotland, that apparently 95% white, but they hold all of the big positions. Again, you couldn't really make this shit up, to be perfectly honest with you, with regard to Mr. Hamza Yusuf. Is there a space of possibility that he was speaking the truth? Facts with regard to Robert Jenrick. Hamza always talking shit. Let's go over to Hamza Yusuf again, his profile. I hate this prick, but let's go over to his profile recently and see what shit he's been spouting. So here we go again, 2 years from the terror attack at Israel, and my thoughts continue to be with those who killed and held captive. We also must not forget those who killed since October 7th, including 20,000 children, all for crime that they didn't commit. What's he saying about the far right? What's he saying here? If the far right aim to protect women and children, then why do so many of their leaders have convictions for abusing them? The far right are weaponizing women and children's safety. Don't fall for their BS. Confront it, mobilize, and organize against their threat of the far right. Oh, he's back talking about the far right again.
The far right say they're here to protect women and children. Then why do so many of their so-called protectors come with convictions for abusing women and children? In Scotland, more than 200 women, from Nicola Sturgeon, Val McDermott, Nadia Al Nakla, I may be biased,
They're women?
but she is really good, they have all called out the far right for trying to weaponise women's rights. Just look at who turns up when the far right choose to march. 2 in 5 people arrested after last summer's riots had prior domestic abuse reports on police systems. In some forces, it was closer to 2/3. Some protectors, this lot. And their champions? James McMurdoch, who was initially elected as a Reform MP. Well, he spent 21 days in jail for repeatedly kicking his girlfriend. So spare us the chivalry. Then there's the Save Our Children Brigade. Anthony Styles, a loud anti-migrant live streamer, unmasked as a convicted paedophile. He spent 4.5 years in prison for indecently assaulting a girl under 14 and is on the sex offenders register for life. That's not protection, that's projection. And what about the poster boy himself, Tommy Robinson, a serial lawbreaker who was handed a 5-year stalking protection order for harassing a woman and her partner at their home? That's right. The court having to intervene to protect a woman from Tommy Robinson. The far right weaponise women and children's safety to push their hate, while figures in their own ranks face convictions for violence and abuse. This isn't a one-off, it's a pattern. And we should be unapologetic in calling out the serial abusers who make up the far right. They have no impact.
Wait, who even listens to this shit? How has he got 1.5k likes there, by the way? Let's have a little look here quickly in his comment section. I mean, I'm not going to reply to it, but what about the grooming gangs, Hamza? I mean, that's the same argument I could just use for Islam, by the way. He's a crazy old bloke, isn't he? If you want to make claims, let's name all the... Yeah, exactly, in all of the parties. I can help you with the numbers if you don't have them. If Islam is the religion of peace, why does the Quran permit sex with minors? Why do you spontaneously combust into crowded spaces with following the... Fucking hell. When did you last mention the issues of women's rights in Afghanistan, Hamza? Facts. Are the far right in the room with you now? Painting everyone with the same brush because of a few bad apples, I see. Let's do the same with Muslims. How many have convicted for grooming gang scandals? And more importantly, how many have yet to be brought to justice? Why did it get covered up? Exactly, Hamza. Again, he's using the same sort of thing. Can you name 4 to 5 far right leaders convicted of abusing women and children? I would like to confront them, says Craig Houston. Points. You just get so much hate in the comments with regard to it. But, you know, this is another thing as well. He loves to weaponize politics, because the thing is with Humza Yousaf is after the terrorist attack, by the way, he called this out. He was like, he was an Islamic terrorist, and he went, this evil terrorist may claim to have been a Muslim, but his actions have nothing to do with Islam, a religion that says to kill one innocent person is like killing the whole of humanity. Over the coming weeks and months, many will try to divide us. We must simply not prevail. Hasn't he literally just done the same thing there with regard to these far-right leaders? He's got an agenda himself. And I don't know why I've gone into a rabbit hole with Humza Yousaf, but, you know, whatever. We warned you. Many politicians and media outlets have put a target on every Muslim's back by blaming all of us, and Islam is... No one has mentioned Islam whatsoever for the really in terms of in the government. They've not even mentioned the word once, which is quite frankly a disgrace. And actually, I do want to know his thoughts and opinions on Ali Rafik, who set fire to the or got charged for an attempted arson in Kettering yesterday. He was literally charged for it. So it'll be interesting to see there. Humza says, if you ever doubted the scale of anti-Muslim hatred motivating the current Israeli government, then look no further than this. To invite a racist far-right convicted thug who called Islam violent fascist ideology will not horrify Muslims, but many Jewish and Israeli people too. Well, funny thing there, Humza, actually, my man, is that, well... You are racist. We literally see it on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, I'm going to get off his profile because he's doing my nutting. But the whole point of this sort of live stream was with regard to, depending on what side you are, depending on what colour skin you are, and depending if you're a foreigner, you can get away with saying certain things. So in Robert Jenrick's case, with regard to saying that there was no white people in Birmingham, this was an observation that he made. But now everyone's trying to cancel him, despite Humza Yousaf doing the exact same. Then you've got idiots like this, of course, talking about disgusting rhetoric, anti-Semitism, and also saying that people should not be able to feel sympathy towards the people that were massacred on October 7th because, well, they don't belong in Israel, despite her sitting in the United Kingdom and not in the country where she's from. It just makes no sense, and as this user said, they are complete hypocrites. I'm interested to see what people are saying in the live chat with regard to this, but most certainly, absolutely a clear double standards at play when we think and talk about things in the United Kingdom. You can say something if you want, if it's directed at a certain demographic, if you're on a certain demographic, but the moment a white person was to say something, well, then all of a sudden the whole world falls down on you, which is absolutely shocking to see. Debbie James is coming clutch again, sent 5 British Stand gift memberships. Debbie James, you're an absolute hero. Thank you so much for your generosity here on this channel, actually. You really do have a lovely giving heart, and as stated, she's given away some memberships. So thank you again, Debbie, for doing that. Barry says, sorry mate, but he was actually born in Scotland. Well, him being born in Scotland doesn't make him Scottish. It makes him British, but by heritage, he's not Scottish. And either way, he can't complain that people in positions of power in Scotland are white. I know that was a long time ago, but he can't complain about that sort of rhetoric. He just can't. Because it's a majority white country. So, well, that's usually, the odds is, that majority of the white people. We're not in the game of DEI. I know most of the world is now in the game of DEI, but you can't be catering for the minority. So, people being in leadership positions throughout the United Kingdom being white, well, majority of the people are white. So, the odds are they are going to be white in those positions. It's absolutely bonkers. We're the only country that lives by this kind of ordeal where you judge someone by their skin color, their religion, on their background, on what position they actually get. It's the most talented person, and the right person for that position should get the role. I don't see him going back to his homeland and complaining about the people in Pakistan or Islamabad's mayor or whatnot is not white. And nor would we care. But yeah. Back on Robert Jenrick's comments, there's no place in Birmingham I don't feel safe for being white. I'm not going to lie. To be honest, I haven't been to Birmingham for a very long time. Actually, the last time I went to Birmingham was I went to a Black Sabbath concert, funnily enough, in 2013. It was about December 2013. And the place was a shit pit then. And I dread to imagine what the place looks like now, but I keep very, very away. Yeah, Gary Neville's the worst right now. Actually, Humza Yousaf, Sadiq Khan, then probably Gary Neville afterwards. But Gary Neville's a problem because he's going against his own people, essentially. And he's a champagne socialist. Well, we can all work that one out, can't we? Ace. Jenrick isn't wrong though, is he? Nope. He isn't. And he shouldn't be disturbed to say. I mean, he's getting demonized right now. He's in a lot of the headlines this morning. People saying that he should apologize for his quote-unquote disgraceful comments. What's the problem? What is the issue? Because I don't see the issue whatsoever with what he said. He's making an assumption. Whether his assumption's correct or not is not for anyone to sort of come out and say that he needs to apologise. If he's made an assumption and he feels that way of what he's seen in real time, then that's his opinion. That's his thoughts and opinion. No one else can take that away from him. He was observing the area. And actually, I would probably come to his backup. It's true in some parts of Birmingham. And that was in 2013 where I went there. And I'm not saying, did I say that was a problem? Did Robert Jenrick? Well, Robert Jenrick did say it was a bit of an issue because they're not getting into, they're not banding in together. They're not getting into the society. So yeah, it is an issue. Bill King says, I wonder what the Salford support will be like. Well, we've seen some protests, and currently now it's the international break, so probably we're not going to see much of it. Of course, we'll probably see some stuff in terms of the England fans, because they're pretty die-hard patriotic, so we'll probably see something in terms of banners with regard to Gary Neville. But actually, we probably won't hear too much. But I do think it's going to be a hard ride for Gary Neville following his comments. But guys, that's all I've got with this one. Do let me know your thoughts on that disgraceful girls interview, and let me know your opinion on the clear double standards at play and the two-tier when it comes to making observations in a country and saying things in a country, that depending on the political side you are, or colour or religion you are, you'll be treated differently for, depending on background on who you're sort of criticising. I'm interested to know your thoughts.